Okay, so got my existing walls there for the bathing space, and looking in 3D, you can see I've got the lower floor for the courtyard, and then I've made an upper floor for the part of the building adjoining the bathing space. It's up to you how much of this you want to show, but it's nice to show at least some of it so you can see where you're coming from to get into that room or that space. Looking into the actual bathing space area, though, you can see that's empty at the moment. And so just to have something underneath it, it's going to help me later on if I extend this lowest floor, the courtyard floor, and just so you can see that more easily, I'm going to show you how to make a section as well. Alright, so in my ground floor plan, you can see on the quick access toolbar, you've got a shortcut to section. Also on the view tab, you've got the section tool, but I'll just go to the quick access toolbar, clicking on the section button. I can click 2 points, going over my building or the space, and then to go quickly to that section view, I can double click on the arrows or the arrowhead, and then you can see the section where I can select that courtyard floor. And now I'll double click on the ground floor floor plan in the project browser here, and you can see it's left the floor selected. So that's a really important method. If you're not doing that already, make sure you're comfortable selecting things in one view and then changing to a different view. So now I can go to edit boundary and easily edit the floor in this view. So I'm going to select that line and move it onto the outside there. Tick to finish. So now I'm going to go over just quickly making new levels and then making floors in case you need to do any of those things. So the floor needs a level, and in the section view there you can see I already have some levels, but it's hard to read them because of the scale. So I'm going to change the scale from 1 to 100 to 1 to 50, which you'll see will make the text smaller. So these are things you want to maybe start thinking about as using the software, the fact that scale is going to affect things like your notes, and you don't need to change the height like you would in a program like maybe Word. So think about how scale works. And now I'll go to the level tool on the architecture tab and just click 2 points either side of the building to make a new level, which I'm going to call O2 bathroom. Yes to rename corresponding views. And then I'm going to press escape twice so that I can select my other level, ground floor, and rename it to O3. Again, always yes when it asks you to rename corresponding views. And then the ceiling now is my 4th level. Okay, and it's nice to have numbers in front of the names, just so that when you look at the list of the floor plans, they go in order of the height, from lowest to highest. So again, if you've forgotten how to make levels, don't forget, it's one of the things you need to do all the time. So it's on the architecture tab, you've got the level button there. Now I'm actually going to save the file as I go along because it's crashing. And so I'm going to go back into my bathroom floor plan, and then make a new floor. So I'll just remind you again, with the floor tool, like most of these others, you've got different options, but if you're still not sure which of the options to use, you're not using the tools maybe in the easiest way. You don't need to click on these arrows all the time. If you just want to use the basic floor tool, just click on the top part of the button above the line, and then you don't need to decide whether it's architectural or structural. Okay, so clicking on the top there of the floor button, you can see then I've got the draw panel, so hopefully you've got a good idea about the different shapes that you can choose from there. I'm going to, instead of using pick walls, which I know I've shown you before, but just to show you in a simple way how to make a floor, I'm going to go to rectangle, and then I'm going to draw a simple rectangle inside that set of 4 walls, so it takes up that whole bathroom area. I'm going to have some other floor levels, but that's going to be my main floor level. So tick to finish, and again I'll go into my section view now, just so you can see the new floor there. So going back into the bathroom floor plan now, I'm going to make some new walls quickly for that. So just going to the wall tool, again not worrying about which options, I'm just going to the top part of the button there to use the basic wall tool. I just want some simple internal walls, and there you'll see in the list you've got walls like generic 100mm, generic 200, generic 300. So they're your basic wall thicknesses, and I'll just choose generic 100mm. Then I'm going to set the height, so you need to make sure you've got height, usually on the options bar. Then you can choose your level, so I've got a ceiling level which I can choose there as well, and check your location line. So as you're drawing walls, you should be looking at those options each time before you go to draw your walls. And now I'm going to click a point on the upper wall there. It's going to come down, so I'm not being too fussy about the placement here, so I'm going to come down a rough distance there and then come across to the left. So I've got a simple cubicle for my WC. Now I'm going to go and add a door into that. So using the door tool, the door that I want I'll get from the library. So I'm going to use load family and then doors, and then we'll have, I'll just go for a single timber frame. Okay, so then hovering over the wall there, you can see I can place my door. And I won't go too much into the options, but hopefully you have a good idea about how you can change the opening direction and the way they face and so on. All right, so I'll just quickly put a component in there, and then I'll go through modelling, and that hopefully will be enough for the a ceiling. So with the component tool, I'm going to go to place a component, which is the same as choosing the top part of the button there. And that'll allow me to, again, load a family. So I'm going to go to load family and get some, get a WC from plumbing equipment or plumbing fixtures. And just remember, if you don't find very much in there, have a look in International Metric in the same folder. So here you can see I've got a toilet domestic 3D. And then the shortcut, as you place families, if you want to rotate them, you can use spacebar. I'm just using space to rotate that and place it. Okay, and then I'm just going to put some doors along this wall here, and then I can look at using model in place. So again, using the door tool, again, load family, and in the doors folder here, I know there are some sliding 4-panel doors. Okay, and then hovering over the wall, you can see they're not very big though. So I want to make them much bigger, and to do that you need to go to Edit Type in Properties, and the basic process is to use duplicate. So I'm going to click and then click duplicate and then give a new name. I'll just call it bathroom door. And then I'll give a new width. Right, so we know the bathing space is 8.9 metres. I want 2 sets of sliding doors all together, and I want some wall left over for my window. So I'm going to make them 3.5 metres, which will make them about 7 metres altogether. And oh no, sorry, I want a 2 metre window. So I'll make that 3,000. Sorry. And then the height also I might change. So I'm going to make that 2,700. So I've got a decent height on that door. And then OK, and then I can hover over the wall, and you can see it's got my new height. Oh, sorry, my new size. So I'm just going to click twice in the wall to place my new doors there, and then looking in 3D, you can see all of those things on the bathroom level. So that's really the essential thing, that as you're adding all of your elements, you're thinking about the levels that you're using. And so now I'm just going to quickly go and put in the ceiling and then do some modelling. So I've gone to the bathroom ceiling plan. So over here you can see we have ceiling plans and floor plans. If you're not using your ceiling plans at this stage, don't be afraid to use them, but you may not at first see very much in them, and that might put you off using them. All you need to do is change your view range. And so there you can see in this bathroom level ceiling plan, all I can see is the doors. Now though, I'm going to go down in the properties there to view range. You can see then the edit button next to that. And I'm going to change my top to unlimited. The view depth as well to unlimited. And then the cut plane, I'm going to change to 1800. And if you have trouble with your ceiling plans, that's a good general setting for them, just to make them work. So clicking OK there, you can see now that all the walls come up, and in a moment when I make the ceiling, it'll come up as well. And so that's the first thing you need to know. To be able to make a ceiling, you need to have a ceiling plan that works. Okay, so then I'll click on the ceiling button. On the ribbon, you need to go to Sketch Ceiling, and then in Properties, change your level to ceiling and the height to 0. So you have to do those 3 steps, or your ceilings just won't work. Once you've done that, you can simply draw, as you would a floor, the shape for your ceiling. And it could be something just as simple as this, a rectangle, just like the floor I drew a moment ago. So I'll finish that, and in the 3D view, you'll see now that I have a ceiling going over all of the walls, and that's maybe something you haven't thought about a lot at this stage when you're doing your floor plans and other parts of your design. At first, it's not so obvious how important the ceiling is. But it's something you'll always need to have in your design, so make sure you do at least have an idea what shape you need your ceiling to be. And then, like I was saying, I'll just put in some modelling. So going to the bathroom floor plan again, just quickly going to model in place, casework for the category, and I'm going to make a bath, so I'm just going to call this bath.
You're making a bath?
Yep. So I'm just going to, yeah.
Oh, right. Yep. Are you making this the XS? I wanted to ask, and I wanted like just a square.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm doing. Yep.
Oh,
so I'm just going to click OK, and that gets me into a new custom family.
Oh, okay. So you're doing an extrusion thing?
Exactly. So you've got the extrusion tool and all the others once you're in those new families. So with extrusion, I'm going to draw a rectangle.
So what's the average width for the doorway?
900, that's standard. Yeah. Okay, and so with that rectangle, I've got a height set. If you don't see it when you draw, when you're using the different buttons in the draw panel there, you'll see the depth comes up on the options bar. But even if you're not doing that, if you've cancelled what you're doing, you'll still have the height for the start and the end in properties here. And so from my bathroom level, I want this just to rise up, so 300.
Don't have to click the tick first.
No, you can put the height in before. And so I'll just click the tick now to finish it though. And you can do it afterwards as well, that's fine. So I can change the height now if I wanted to. And so I then want a hole cut into that for the bath. So I'm going to add a void. So just remember, you need to go back to the Create panel sometimes to get the modelling tools back.
Okay, I think it's tick again.
Okay, so when you've done that, if you click Finish Model, then you just need to select what you've made and then edit in place, and that will take you back into it. So you've got void forms and then void extrusion. Just check you've got the Create panel. No, Create.
Oh, create. Oh, yeah, void.
Yeah. So with void extrusion, again, I'm just going to click on the rectangle button and then click a couple of points to make my rectangle.
Does it have to be precise, or can you fix stuff later?
You can fix it. So that's the great thing about Revit. Any of these lines you can move as much as you like. So I'm just pressing Escape now so that I can come back and select each of these lines separately. And that way I can put in an even distance from the wall. So I might want that to be 300 all the way around. And it's easier to put that in afterwards rather than try and do it as I draw. Okay, now there you can see it's giving me a measurement all the way to the end, but I can drag that onto anything I want. So, oops, let's do that again. Okay, and so I'm just going to click the tick to finish it. And you'll see I've left the height the same, so it should be going through my bath. I'll go into the section view just so you can see what's happening now. Okay, so there you can see that's the original solid box that I made, and then going through it, we've got the void. So that can be useful if I need that to go through the floor as well. I can drag it down, so I'm going to drag my void all the way down to the lower floor. And now I'm going to go to Cut. So just on the Modify tab, you've got the Cut button. So I'm going to choose this void, and then also the main floor of the bathroom. And it's going to cut through that as well. So you can see now
it's going to be like in the ground.
Yeah, it's a bath. So I want that to go deeper than just this 300. So it's going through both the solid and the floor. So the voids can cut through more than just one thing.
So I pick the void and the square in the square.
Yep. So with Cut. So Cut, and then you just choose the void, and then...
Be in section 1.
No, you can be in any view. Just one you can see. Yep. Cut, and then you just choose the void.
Yeah.
And then whatever you want it to cut. So it depends. You may not need to do that in every situation, but it's just something you may need to do. So I'm just going to finish that because I just want to quickly show you another type of modelling. Going back to the bathroom level, you might want, say, a curved wall. So that's a common situation where you need to have, again, an extrusion. So again, on the Architecture tab, under Component, I'll go to Model in Place. So before I use Casework, this time I'm going to choose Walls from the categories. Okay, it'll ask me for a name, so I'm going to call this Curved Wall. It's just so I know what it is. And then again, I'm going to make an extrusion. So on the extrusion button, you can see then again, I've got the draw panel, with all my different shapes. So I'm going to click along the edge of the wall, the first point for my line, and then let's go up to the top of the wall, and then come along to draw another line. So that's with the first option there. Now though, I'm going to go down to the first option in the second row, which is your main arc tool. So then using it, I can go and give a point, actually adding space here because I want an interesting curve, so I'm going to do 2 arcs. I'm just going to click a point there for the end of my first arc, and then moving the cursor, I can give a point in the middle, which gives me the curve or the radius of that arc. So,
About right. 775.
something like that, yeah, that's pretty close, yeah, it's not far off, yeah. So it's about 3600, I have to double check myself.
No,
But,
what was the height on the screen there?
27 to the bulkhead.
Oh, okay.
So to the absolute, to the where the lights are, 3200. So I'll just click another point now. I'm still drawing arcs. Remember, you can always look in the draw panel to see which one you're using. So I'm going to click a point on the end of my wall there. So that's again the end of the arc, and now I can move the cursor to set the curve, and then click to give the radius. Okay, so that could be a curved wall. If I'm not happy with that curve, I can always just delete those, the delete key on the keyboard, and I'll come back and have a go at drawing some different kinds of arcs, just to maybe show you a bit of that. I know I haven't done a lot with the curves. So again, using the arc tool, I'll click a point this time starting on the wall, coming out to give my second point. This time I'm going to bring it down so that it goes, hopefully, to give me a smooth curve coming from the wall, which would be a nice thing, so I don't see the corner there. And now I'll again try to get a curve that can finish on the end of this line, so that'll be the end there. And then coming back, I should be able to snap, yeah, there we go. So I've got it snapping to the previous curve. So you'll see as you move, it'll eventually highlight, there we are, when you get what's called the tangent. That basically means you get a smooth curve. So there though, I've got now this extra part, like the fish I suppose, and you don't want that. So I've got to trim that off. Using trim to corner, I'm just going to choose these 2 shapes, and then again, tick to finish. Okay, so that's made my solid. So I've drawn the shape and plan, but what haven't I done? If you're thinking about making something in 3D, when you draw the shape and plan, you're drawing a 2D version of it. So what else do you need to give to make something 3D?
Shadows?
Or, yeah, that's if you want to make it look 3D, but to make it actually 3D, if something's 2-dimensional to begin with.
Another line?
Yeah, or a depth. So you're giving a height. That's what makes something 3D. So that's the way you want to always be thinking with your making of solids. You draw the 2D shape first, and then worry about the height. So over here you can see it's 300 high. In section again, you can see that's not very high. I want this to be a wall, so I'm going to select it, and rather than typing in a height over here, I'm going to use the arrows there to stretch that all the way up to the ceiling, which you can see gives me a height of, 3,300. Okay, so I'll have a look in the 3D view there so you can see it's in there. Okay, so that's the wall, but it's getting hard to see now because I've got other things in the way. So I'll go to finish the model, and then I'm going to select that ceiling, and then going down to the bar down the bottom, you can see the glasses there give me the option of height element. Right, so now I can see much more easily into the space. Okay, so there's my WC. And then to make it look a bit more complete, I'll just put in some vanities and things from the library, and then I'll do the next video on materials for you. Okay, so again, just using component, I'm going to go to load family, and then for your sinks and basins, in international metric again, plumbing fixtures, you should have at least a few. If you use the library while you're in here, you'll have a lot more, but at least when you're working on your own, you should be able to get to these. So again, I'll just put a very basic basin in there, and then if you wanted to have that enclosed, you could have again simple extrusion, so model in place, casework for the category. So again, extrusion, and I'm going to draw this really quickly, just with line, arc, back to line. And then when you're adjusting these shapes, it can be really useful using the arrows. So I'll start by selecting one of the lines, and then using the arrows on the keyboard, you can see if your shapes are connected or if your lines touch, it'll move them and keep them connected. So that you can just do with extrusion. So I'll maybe give you a quick example. So the next file I've got is has it anyway, but maybe I'll just make it for you. So here you can see that I'm just using the arrows on the keyboard to make that arc smaller, and you can see that's a good way of just trying to get it to follow something else.
For a hallway,
Yep.
what's like the standard capacity?
Look, a meter's good, but you can go down to 900,
It's 850
even less.
usually.
No, for bathroom, you can get away with it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay, so again, tick to finish, and this time I'll again go to my section.
Are you recording this?
Yes, of course. Yeah. No, I wouldn't be going this quickly if I wasn't. So I'll again just use the section view to drag the top of this up to the height of my basin. Again, in the 3D view, you can see it's there, but it's overlapping the basin, or the basin sinks into it. So back in my bathroom plan, I'm going to make a void extrusion again, and I'm going to draw a circle because I know that's the shape I want to cut out, but I can't see the sink here. I'm going to go to the ground floor plan instead and see if I can see it there. No, it's not showing me. So I'll try going to wireframe instead, and you can see then that I can see it. Right, so that makes it easier just to position my hole. Again, I'm just using the arrow keys on the keyboard to do this. So nudging it there, up and down with the arrows. Type in a slightly bigger radius there maybe to make it go under the sink. So that should be big enough. And so again, tick to finish, and I worry about the height when I go to my section view. So there we are. I can see if I drag the top up past the top of the basin there, that won't matter because it'll cut thin air. But I need to drag the bottom up so that it's only cutting deep enough for the sink. Back in the 3D view, there we are, that's done. And so again, just applying exactly the same procedures, you can make things like decking really easily. So again, I'll go to my bathroom level because that's the level I might want my deck to be. So a typical deck would be, slatted boards, essentially. So for that, again, I can use extrusion, model in place. I'm going to choose floors for the category. I'm going to call it deck. So then I'm going to make an extrusion with the rectangle tool. I'm going to draw roughly the size I think a single board should be. Again, it's good to just get into the habit of trying to do it by eye, and then come back and put in more accurate sizes if you have to. So I'll select now one of these lines and then change the size there to 150. And that's good enough. That will give me something that looks like a single board. But also over in the properties, I'm going to set the end. So then I'm going to set the end to minus 20. So that gives me a board that starts at 0, that's my floor level, and goes down 20 mil. So I've got a 20 mil deep floorboard. So then tick to finish. And I'll use the copy button. So I'm going to tick multiple. So I can just pick it up and then keep placing all my copies with the same spacing. Right, so that might be too big. If it is, you can always bring the first one back. So I've deleted the others. I'm going to nudge the first one back so it's got a smaller spacing, maybe around 20 mil. Okay, so I'll just finish this and then I'll finish the video. So I'm just going to use copy and then pick up points snapping to each of these. That one's actually out of line, so again, just spend some time. If you haven't used the copy or any of the tools in the modifier panel, you do need to spend a bit of time just practicing each one. So anyhow, that's the way you could make a deck. It might seem like a lot of steps, but basically, looking at that in 3D, you can see it's just a series of boxes. Okay, so you can see that I've got all the main elements that you probably need for your bathing space. So I'll finish the video there because I just want to make sure we get time to do one for materials. And so stop that one.